The place where you and your agent work together is going to become like your office space. And more importantly, it's really going to become the memory where your agent can access information on anything that you need to know about what you've done, your work, your projects, even who you are, what you did 2 months ago. All of that is going to be here in your vault. And we're using a tool called Obsidian. Obsidian is free, and I highly recommend it. It's available for Windows, Mac, Linux, and it is a place where you and your agent can store information, notes, because those notes are in Markdown, and your agent can write some of those notes for you. You can also write your own notes, and the download plaque includes 5 templates. I'll show you those later on. But first, let's head over here to prompt 1. And you can see here that this is just a standard Markdown note. If I go here into source mode, this is what the agent sees. Because what Markdown is basically this. It's basically a way of organizing and formatting text, which looks like this to the agent, but looks like this to you, because this is for you, the human, to be able to read easily. This prompt, as you can see, has a lot of steps in it. It's very detailed, but the end result is going to be a complete designed Obsidian vault for you. That means you will not have to do anything. It will just give you a complete vault with fonts and with all of the core plugins set up, the ones that I believe you will need to use first, not only turned on, but set up correctly. And this prompt does that in detail. Simply select the prompt and let's drop it right into Cursor. So I'm going to toss this in and let Opus 4.6 take care of it. The prompt instructs the agent to ask you questions. It's going to use the Ask User tool is what it's called here in Cursor. But here we have questions of where we want to create our Obsidian vault. So I'm going to use D Coworkspace. Sounds great. And I'm going to select that. And the download pack actually is located on the desktop. Now that the agent understands, it's going to go ahead and take a look at the desktop. And when it's taking a look here, it's actually using the terminal and it's using a tool right here. So here's a little trick. Before the agent is done with prompt 1, and it'll take a while for it to do it, so be patient. And with that little happy noise, we see here that everything is installed. Let's take a look and make sure it did it correctly. When you first open Obsidian, you're going to see this modal here, and you're going to want to click on Open Folder as Vault. You're going to want to find Coworkspace wherever you put it, and just select Folder. And this is what you're going to see. The first thing I recommend that you do is head over to the settings, and I'm going to do this so we can see. We're going to go to Appearance, and you'll see that it is actually chosen the fonts here. So I'm going to choose a font size of 24, and I'm going to choose a zoom level of 131 so we can see better. And when you open up the inbox, the first thing you're going to see is a welcome note. Welcome to your Coworkspace. By the way, you do not have to call your vault Coworkspace. You can tell the agent to call it whatever you want. When you put the prompt in, just say, here's the prompt, and at the bottom, just type, I want my vault to be named whatever. So it's going to give you a quick tour, which I will do too. You have your inbox. This is where I suggest you tell your agent to drop in new things that it brings into a vault. It creates a file for you, have it put it here. The outbox is where the agent should be instructed to put its finished work. So for example, if you have it working on creating a new customer Excel file, just ask it to put it in there. The context here is where we're going to be running the results of prompt 2 are going to end up. But this is where your agent is going to want to get to know you. The more the agent understands what you do, your goals, your work or business or side hustle or whatever it might be, the more the agent has information about you surrounded about the work you want to do, the better you're going to have, the better time you're going to have with the agent. The skills folder are for markdown files with repeatable instructions for Claude Cowork. Because agent skills are a open standard shared with the community that was created by Anthropic. And it's a simple format for giving agents new capabilities and expertise. Cowork does have access to skills, as does Claude Code. In fact, Claude Code had it first last summer, and it's now available for everyone. Your projects folder is, well, exactly that. It's a place for you to put whatever it is you're currently working on with your agent. Your Vault resources folder is really important. This is your archive. When you get done with the project, for example, you can put it here. Attachments for audio and any images you bring into the Vault, it's already instructed to drop the images right here. So any image that you you can put them here if you want. The fonts are the 3 fonts that I have given you that you can see here and play. And finally, the templates. There's the context template, and you can see the context. This is what we're going to be filling out with prompt number 2. You're going to be going back and forth with Claude to fill out all of this information. The daily note is just that. For notes here, I've added today's focus, key insights, your wins, and tomorrow's priorities. And the daily note is actually really important. So I do recommend that you use this in Cowork because it's essentially going to become the kind of prefrontal cortex of your agent's brain. This is why daily notes are so important, because it allows the agent to find out exactly what you are doing and get up to speed and get to work at the beginning of your workday without any kind of re-explaining. If you'd like to make this even easier, I would use the start and stop recording tool here, record everything, and then ask the agent to turn your recording into the daily note. That's it. The idea, meeting notes, and project templates are all very basic. This is just when you get a quick idea, you can say, oh, make a quick idea note and drop it into the outbox. The meeting notes has everything that you might need for the attendees and the agenda. The projects are all for any new projects, goals, tasks, notes. So the agent space is a shared space for you to work together with your agent. Let's move on to prompt 2. This is the getting to know you prompt. And you can see that it has a number of steps. It's going to start the conversation, ask you some follow-up questions, and it's going to create an initial context note, and then it's going to ask you some additional questions, and finally finalize and make some suggestions as to what you could do next. Because in order for the agent to know how to help you, it needs to know you, or at least what you do. And this prompt covers that. I'm going to drop this prompt into Cursor here. And all you need to do is just press enter. I wanted the agent to give you this option in case you wanted to answer using your voice. And then I'm going to say that I want to automate repetitive tasks, do some writing and content creation. Then, using the answers from your first set of questions, it will ask you further questions. One of the things that I wanted the agent to find out was what your challenges were, because that's where it can be most helpful. And now the agent has a really clear picture. At this point, it should start to read the template and build out the note. Once the note is created, it's going to ask you some final questions about how you want to be, how you want the model to be, what kind of personality you want it to have. And it's going to add that information into your context note so that it can maintain that personality, because every session it will read that note. After that, the agent will know how you want it to communicate with you, what kind of tools and platforms that you use, what connectors that you want to use in Cowork. So by the time you get to the last question, it's going to be pretty dialed in on you and who you are here, because I can create an Obsidian Vault for all of you, but I can't create an Obsidian Vault for each one of you. This prompt is what allows the agent to go ahead and create a vault that's more tailored for you. So it will also remind you that the context note is a living document. So you can always build out on the context note. The agent has put it right where it should in the context folder. And this is what it looks like. It gives key information, preferences and styles, strengths and skills, tools and integrations, and finally, some additional notes. Now, the thinking here is if you've used Obsidian before, you've used to thinking of notes as something just for you, for your brain. But rather than thinking of it as a second brain, thinking of it as an agentic brain. So now it's your brain working in cohesion with an agent. Okay, this is the part I have been waiting for, because this is going to turn you from being just kind of faffing about with Cowork and hoping to get something good out of it to being a power user in one prompt. No, I am not overstating that, because it's going to allow you to discover Claude's tools. And I never see anyone talking about this. But understanding what tools an agent has on board is key to being able to get the max out of it. And let's again head over to Cursor, and I'm going to toss this prompt in. And what Opus 4.6 is doing over here is creating a tools reference document. This is a similar document for Cursor. Here in this document, it shows the file system tools, read, write, basically edit is what string replace means, listing files and directories. But as I went through these tools, I discovered that Cursor has a generate image tool, which I didn't know about. So the generate image tool just allows you to create a little UI mockup or illustration or icons, and it's right here in Cursor. But so many people don't know that that's available because they don't know what tools an agent has on board. Under context here, you'll now have a Claude Tools reference file. These are not the same tools, again, that Claude Cowork will show you. Its internal tools will be different. One little trick here, if your agent has balks on sharing its tools with you, which occasionally does happen, go with a model that is basically less intelligent. Try with Haiku or Sonnet. So at this point, you now have a ready to go vault, a space for your agent to work. You have the fonts, you have the 3 prompts. You also have some resources here. I've given you some docs and transcripts here. And these resources are really important for the last and the best part. And that's this master guide. So this master guide is going to answer all your questions about Claude Cowork. What it is a resource that is pulled together from many different YouTube videos from other YouTubers who have shared about Claude Cowork, as well as official documentation. And taking all of that information, I've synthesized it into this table of contents with interface and features, workflows and use cases. This is huge, this one right here, because if you're worried about like, well, I don't really know like what I can do, here are a bunch of ideas that you can do with Claude Cowork right now. I've given this to you as a markdown document, and I've also given it to you as a PDF that will take you right where you want to go with everything that you could need to get up to speed fast with Claude Cowork. If you've been throughout this video looking at these folders over here, Basket, Foundry, Studio, FlowLab, Codex, Engine, and more, and wondering how all of this works together to run my entire business right from this Obsidian vault, I did a deep dive on Agent Space. That video, which goes into all the juicy details, it's on screen right now.